Indeed, God is present each and every moment, each and every place. But realizing the presence of God right now, let us pray. Father, Mother God, we give thanks for this opportunity to be aware of your presence here and now. Aware of your presence, not out there, but within us, arising through us, directing our thoughts, directing our actions. In this moment, we give thanks. Thanks for all that is. Thanks for all that isn't. All that was, all that wasn't. All that will be, all that won't be. We give thanks. We give thanks. And so it is that together we say, Amen. Courage to be me. You may recall that several weeks ago we had the White Stone ceremony, and on the White Stone we were to write our new name, and then I asked for feedback from each of you as to what topics you would like me to cover to help you fulfill that name that you have given yourself. And so the topics that were received: practicing citizenship and advocacy, learning to reach across the aisle, courage, let your light shine and be courageous, not just surviving but thriving in our current national climate, physical healing, there were 2 requests for that, and an end to inertia, and serving God through serving mankind, and answering the question, what is transformation? So I'm going to be addressing these for you over the course of the next several weeks. And I am not here to offer you the answer to these. I'm here to suggest answers to you that you can then take out and practice in your life and see whether or not my answers are relevant. If they are relevant, thank God you have some ideas to work on. If they're not relevant, thank God because you've eliminated some ideas that you don't need to consider. Okay, so these topics that I'm going to be addressing are going to be topics that will perhaps be useful, perhaps not. In any case, it will occupy 30 minutes on Sunday morning, and you'll have the opportunity to practice forgiveness for my occupying your time without any relevant thoughts coming out of it. So, this is what we're going to be looking at today. Courage, let your light shine, and be courageous. And it's also going to include not just surviving, but thriving in our current national climate. We had these expressions this morning about our current national climate. And it's not that I'm here to in any way be a political advocate, although you know I sometimes drop into that. I'm not here to do that. What I am here to do, though, is to show you in our topics, in our talk this morning, is to show you ways to move from this embrace of fear that many of us experience, whether it be health issues or finance issues or merely a matter of bringing people together, bringing families back together. All of this is I'm surprised here. For those of you who don't know my higher self, this is my higher self that just walked in. And she hates it when I tell her that. Now you know what life with David is like. Okay. So these are what we're going to be talking about today then is courage, and courage in the light of our national climate. How do we thrive in this experience? So here's a proposition for you. And this proposition is one that I speak of often, but it's difficult to get our hands around. It's difficult to accept this concept. And that is that we are each a child of the Most High. We are a child of God. We are the inherited. We are the inheritors of the characteristics of God. All power, all presence, lovingness, goodness, all of the characteristics of God, we are the inheritors of. Now, we may have difficulty realizing that. We may have difficulty realizing that. Intellectually, we may say, oh, yeah, that's cool. I believe that. But do we act upon that belief? Do we allow that belief to be the foundation of our experience? Fear is a perfect example, perhaps the salient example of how we forget that we are children of the Most High, that we are divine beings in this human experience. Because fear is a very powerful influence on us. It causes us to look upon that out there as something that is disconnected from us. But as children of God, as children of that which is permeating all of existence, all of creation, if we truly believe that we are children of that Creator, then we can appreciate that we are connected with all of that. But fear builds the wall. Fear declares that we are separate and apart. So how do we get past that fear? How do we act and be courageous? Because courage is really only needed when we anticipate that fear is present, right? I mean, we have this dichotomy of fearlessness, having courage, or embraced in fear. And the embrace of fear can be so overwhelming that it takes some movement away from that embrace to the point where we can fully eradicate and live fearlessly. So I'm going to be talking about two things this morning. I'm going to be talking about edging away from that all-encompassing fear to the point where, regardless of what happens, we will not have to respond in fear. So that's a big leap. We're going to do it in two steps. First of all, Byron Katie, how many of you know Byron Katie? Byron Katie has a website called thework.com, THEWORK.com. And on that website is a full explanation of what she has come to call the work. And the work is all about moving away from fear. So on that website, you'll find this material that I'm going to be sharing with you, but you'll also find a whole bunch of videos. And those videos are interviews with her, or they are videos of her conducting workshops around the work. So if this is of interest to you, you've got lots of resources to visit by going to thework.com. The experience that we have in the world is ample proof for our ego to say there is reason to fear. Whether it be from a career perspective, or it be from personal relationship perspective, or it be from governmental perspective, or it be from, well, you name it. Fear is something that can arise in every area of our life, and our opportunity to resist that fear is substantial. But resisting the fear, as there's a saying that what you resist persists. So resisting the fear is one step, and then eliminating the concept of fear is the final step. It is the solution. It is what we strive for here. So, Byron Katie. Byron Katie, a woman, for those of you that don't know, Byron Katie has had for the last, I guess it's been about 30, 35 years now. She's had this material being presented. And it is, there we go. So she asks that you ask 4 questions. When you're confronted with a fear, she asks that you consider 4 questions. One is this true, this condition that you are afraid about? Is it true? Right? We can usually say, I'm afraid of it, therefore it's true. Well, she goes on to say, can you be absolutely sure that it is true? An example. I was going to use an example from Linda's and my relationship, but since she's here today, I won't do that. I'll have to make one up spontaneously here. Oh my, how can I do this? All right. So, Paul doesn't respect my opinions. Okay. So that's my proposition. That's the thing that I'm afraid of. Paul doesn't accept my opinions. Now, is it true? Well, I guess so, because, I expressed something to Paul and he kind of scoffed at it and discarded it. Okay, so I will say yes to the first question. And then the second question, can I be absolutely certain that Paul doesn't respect my opinions? Well, probably not. I probably can't be absolutely certain. Paul may have had something else on his mind as he responded to my idea. Paul may have had, may have had a situation at home that morning, and he's still reverberating from that situation at home. So I cannot be absolutely certain that Paul doesn't respect my opinions, although I have a high suspicion that he does not accept my opinion. And the third question is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought, that Paul doesn't respect my opinions? Okay? Well, I could go into a whole litany of self-criticism, right? And I could go into a whole litany of criticism of Paul. And I could go into an imagining of all of the circumstances that would lead to Paul not respecting my opinions. There was something that I said 2 years ago that Paul took at face value, and then he found out that it wasn't true, right? So I can go through a whole litany of things that relate to Paul not accepting my opinion. And so we have these several things that come up. Does that thought bring peace or stress into my life? Paul doesn't accept my opinions. Therefore, it actually irritates me. It causes me to be angry with him because I've spent so much time educating him on the higher value of my opinion, and he just discards it. So there is that. Okay, what images do you see, past and future, and what typical physical sensations arise as you think that thought and witness those images? Well, I saw Paul. I saw the expression on his face when I expressed my opinion. And it was such an expression of disdain that it really grabs me by the gut. And it causes me to say, oh, man, that asshole, I'll take care of him. Well, okay, so I've got these negative thoughts that are now permeating my consciousness, right? Those negative thoughts permeating my consciousness causes me to be what? Unhappy, fearful, out of touch with the connectedness that I have with the all that is all and with each other. Okay? So these negative thoughts have a disturbing aspect to them, to my own consciousness. And these are thoughts that I chose, right? These were not thoughts that were imposed upon me. I chose these thoughts. I am the one that's responding to Paul's reaction. What emotions arise when you believe that thought? Do any obsessions or addictions begin to appear when you believe that thought? Well, you know, I could go get stoned. I could go out and have a drink, or I could while away my time on Facebook. I do that anyway. But this idea that these thoughts that I have can in fact move me to a place where I am literally wasting my thought energy, right? I'm petering away my thought energy. I could be using that thought energy as a very positive influence on my moment. And we, of course, live in our moment, right? So when I peter away my thought energy on things that are negative, what happens? I have a negative experience. These are all choices that I am making. And then, how do you treat the person in this situation when you believe that thought? Well, I'm not going to offer my thoughts to Paul anymore because he's just going to discard them anyway, right? And how does that affect my relationship with Paul? My relationship with Paul now becomes very guarded, and my relationship starts to break apart. Right? I no longer confide in Paul, nor does he confide in me. And now I have an enemy, right? Some form of an enemy. I am so far away from realizing that Paul and I are both children of God. So, fourth question. Who would you be without that thought? Oh, man. You feel how that question causes a sense of relief? You know, I no longer have to hold that thought. I no longer have to have that negative energy. I no longer have to be consumed by my opinion of Paul's not respecting my opinion. Okay, so now we have the four questions that start to relieve the tension of this thought that Paul does not respect my opinion. Okay? Question is, how do we reverse it? Well, there's several ways that we can do this, but they're related to this concept of turnaround. So I can go back to the original thought, Paul does not respect my opinion, and I can flip that. I can turn that around. I can turn that around to say that's directed to me, or it's directed to, in this case, Paul, or it's the opposite of that thought. So, directed to me. I don't respect my opinion. How many of you have realized that you don't respect your own opinions? It can be. Here's another turnaround. Paul respects my opinion. Oh. Well, that's interesting. I was thinking that Paul didn't respect my opinions. But what happens if I say Paul respects my opinions? Now, there is that edge that is gone. Well, if Paul accepts my opinion and respects my opinion, then, okay, I don't have to be angry at Paul. Maybe this particular idea that I expressed, he didn't agree with. Well, okay. That's a lot easier to accept, isn't it, than that Paul does not respect my opinion? And then the opposite. And the opposite would be, well, the opposite actually is Paul respects my opinion. And the turnaround for the other, how many of you've done work with Katie, right?
A little bit. It's been a while.
what is this one? What's the turnaround for Paul that is not Paul respects my opinion?
I know is that I don't remember. Is it I respect Paul's opinion? I don't remember though.
Oh, it's I don't respect Paul's opinion. Thank you. So I don't respect Paul's opinion. Paul respects my opinion, and I don't respect my own opinion. Okay, so those are the three conditions here. So all of these allow the release of tension related to this concept of that Paul does not respect my opinion. Okay, so that moves me a little bit away from this hard embrace of the fear that Paul does not respect my opinion. But is that really the fear that we have? This is a wonderful quote. It was misattributed to Nelson Mandela, but it was actually a quote from Marianne Williamson. And Marianne Williamson said this: our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are we not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. Get that? It's in every one of us. We are all children of the Most High. What are you pointing to?
Did you pull your mic out of your socket?
Something's happened.
Oh, battery's dead. So what is my fear about my battery being dead?
And you died halfway through the quote?
That I died?
We don't respect the book.
What?
We don't respect the book, so it doesn't matter.
It's not our fear, it's his.
I didn't lose battery, so I
I'm going to repeat this so that I can go back.
we're not having fun at your expense, we really weren't.
Flow of the- I'm sorry?
We weren't having fun at your expense, we really weren't.
I know you were.
I know.
I'm turning 70 and you're taking advantage of me. All right. Whoa! That's a fear. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are we not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing unenlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Think about that. In our being fearful, we imprison others. Oh, he's afraid. Maybe I should be afraid. You know, maybe he knows more than I do. Maybe I should be afraid. So that's the impact of our being afraid, is that we impose this fear on others and we imprison them in the fear that actually may be just of our own making. Well, so who are we? We're children of God. We are the opportunity for God to be expressing in our moment. We are the opportunity for God to be the expression of Godness in our moment. If we throw away that responsibility, if we absolve ourselves of that responsibility, then in our moment, God cannot express. Now, God may express in others that are present in our moment, but in our moment, God is not able to express. Who are we to deny God the opportunity to be an expression in our moment? We are the children of the divine. We are the expression, if we choose to be, of God in this moment. So how do we move from this place, somewhere away from that firm embrace of fear, into this position, which is the expression of God here and now? How do we get there? Because as long as we have some remnants of fear, we can't come here. We can occupy this middle ground, and maybe that middle ground is less stressful. Maybe that middle ground is not as great as that we would like it to be, but it's certainly a whole lot better than being over here embraced by fear. But moving into this position, to be absolutely fearless in our life, to approach every situation fearlessly, regardless of what the situation is, to be able to be responsive to the moment, to be responsible, to be responsive to the moment requires that we be clear-headed, that we not be distracted by the, oh my God, what if? But rather that we are able to assess the moment and respond to the moment in its fullness. We do that in John 14, 25 to 27. Remember, John was written some 70 years after the crucifixion. But in John 14, 27, there is this thought of how Jesus would have responded. I have said these things to you while I'm still with you, but the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid. Why not? Because in fear, we cannot be the expression of Christ. In fear, we cannot realize our true relationship with all that is all and with each other. Because in the two great commandments, what did Jesus say? Love God with all your heart. Love your neighbor as yourself. Why? Because your neighbor is yourself. We are all connected. We are all the expressions of God. We are all present here, now, to be the expression of that unconditional love. And that is the key. That's the key for moving from here to here, is to be the expression of unconditional love. Now, the interesting thing about that is that is purely a choice. It's purely a choice. We can choose to be the expression of unconditional love or not. Do you get that? We can choose to be the expression of unconditional love or not. But it's very difficult when we're over here embraced by this fear for us to say, oh, I'm going to give unconditional love. We take baby steps. We move out of that using the work of Byron Katie as an example. She's certainly not the only answer to that move from the total embrace of fear to that middle ground. But that's a means that we can study and that we can practice. But moving from here to here, to be the expression of unconditional love, is truly a choice. So how do we do that? You've heard me say before. Use some touchstone. where you have experienced that unconditional love. And often that is with a child. And so Mackenzie and I have this relationship that she and I, she's learning to wave hi and bye. But I had no idea you guys were going to be here today. And this is, bring Mackenzie up here.
I think she was just thinking about Grandpa too.
Come here. So Mackenzie and I have this relationship where we dance, right? And when we dance, I know, isn't that amazing? A whole bunch of people here. Wow. Yeah. But don't be afraid of it. It's okay. I know. You know what?
How did you put me in this spotlight like this?
I know. I got. Okay. All right. Now, each and every one of these people out here, each and every one of these people love you. Yeah.
She says, "This is."
I want you to think about the sacrifice that my granddaughter made as you consider how much you're going to contribute this morning. So Mackenzie and I have this relationship where we will dance for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, and she'll fall asleep on my shoulder. And during that dancing, at least one time, it's okay, she can be here. During that time, at least once during that time, she will look up at me. And she will be looking into my eyes, and I will be looking into her eyes. And there will be this connection that there ain't nothing in this world more important. Right? There is that feeling of, that's unconditional love. To remember a circumstance when you had that unconditional love is the way that you move from here to here. Because in remembering, you're becoming a member of that relationship again, right? Remembering is to relive. And in reliving, you are in that moment expressing this unconditional love that God always offers us. And it is just a choice. We'll have our meditation. Breathing into this moment, allowing ourselves to be consumed by this love. To feel this love flowing through us, permeating every aspect of our being, lightening each dark corner of our consciousness, allowing this unconditional love to be present in our awareness. We feel it transform us. We feel it lifting any load that we may have carried. We feel a freedom in our hearts, in our consciousness. Unconditional love moving through us. Eliminating our fears. This unconditional love transforming us the very essence of our being. This unconditional love, allowing us to move into our next moment without fear, without trepidation. This unconditional love, allowing us to let go of the baggage of the past. This unconditional love, nurturing us, helping us grow, helping us expand, helping us reach out and touch our brothers and sisters with tenderness, compassion, and realization of our true relationship with each other and with God. As we bring this experience back into this moment, as we allow this experience to inform us, to transform us, we give thanks. And as we come back into this time and space, let us come back sharing the words of Alleluia.